This man is a legend. He showed exactly how you can pass a tyrant checkpoint without giving them ID, even when they claim it's their right to ask.
License and registration, please.
For what, sir?
Because we're doing a checking detail.
What crime did I commit?
We're out here checking IDs.
I get that, but that's a violation of my Fourth Amendment.
The Supreme Court has ruled that we can get out here and do checking details in the roadway. It is a legal thing, and anybody that comes through has to possess a driver's license, has to possess a registration.
If they've committed a crime.
No,
yes.
We can stand out here and check anybody's information. The Supreme Court has ruled that it is legal.
So you can just randomly ask
We can
people.
randomly ask
But that's a violation of the Fourth Amendment.
The Supreme Court has said it is not.
What Supreme Court case is that?
It's not a Supreme Court case. The Supreme Court has just ruled on it and said that it is legal.
Supreme Court doesn't just come out and say, hey, we're going to make this ruling. It has to have been a Supreme Court case.
The Supreme Court has ruled it is legal, so yes, we have the legal right to do it.
I would have to see that because
Well,
I
you can
still
look it
have
up.
a Fourth
You can
Amendment
look it
right,
up.
regardless
You
of...
are licensed, your inspection sticker's good, your tags are good, you got a seatbelt on, you have a good day.
Welcome back, everybody. As many of you guys know, I'm a law enforcement trainer and instructor. I train and instruct military and law enforcement all over the country on various law enforcement disciplines to include constitutional law, case law, patrol tactics, use of force, advanced criminal investigations, etc. And here, we're going to be talking about checkpoints for a second. And so if you are law enforcement, I highly encourage you do some research, actually understand this, because most law enforcement do not understand this. I get this question a lot, especially in the state of Oklahoma, and I can tell you most law enforcement officers in Oklahoma have never heard the case laws I'm about to present, nor do they understand it. And so I highly encourage you guys, especially if you're in law enforcement and this is something that you do, you at least know what it is you're talking about and be able to speak on it smartly, if you will. And for everyday citizens, this is also something that I think, if the cops refuse to learn about it, you should absolutely know about it. So here we can see law enforcement officer is trying to compel identification, and the guy fights back. And by fights back, just simply asserts his rights, and he gets sent along his way. And so it's important to know kind of the thinking. And again, I don't know what this officer is thinking. I'm just going to tell you, and I'm just going to speak from my training experience, and I'm going to speak from my personal convictions. That's really all I can do, and just present you this information for what it is, right? And so many of you guys know, when we're talking about checkpoints, the Supreme Court has affirmed that checkpoints are permissible. So the first thing I think we should look at is Michigan versus Stitz, 1990. Sobriety checkpoints have a substantial government interest in stopping drunk driving, and the technique that was rationally related to achieving the goal. The court had held that the impact of drivers, such as delaying them for reaching their destination, was negligible, and the brief questioning to gain reasonable suspicion similarity had a negligible impact on drivers' Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable searches, implying that any more detailed or invasive searches would be treated differently. And so why this is important is because, again, in Michigan versus Sitz, the Supreme Court has affirmed that DUI checkpoints are permissible. Now, with that being said, just because you have a DUI checkpoint doesn't mean that the driver automatically has to relinquish their rights as citizens, especially the right to be identified. And so this is where a lot of officers get this wrong. Again, and it's important for me to say this. I don't care what your thoughts, law enforcement, honestly, I don't care what your thoughts are on it. I really don't. So I'm just going to present to you what case law states, and especially for officers in Oklahoma, what Oklahoma case law states, and you do whatever it is you want to do, whatever you want to do within your convictions. But your opinion on this is of no consequence to me. I don't care. I know what the state Supreme Court has stated. I know what the United States Supreme Court has stated. Your policy procedures have no impact on how I operate. So I just got to get that out there, because for some reason this can be a very contentious subject for some people, especially within law enforcement circles, because I think that they were just taught wrong, if I'm just being 100% honest with you. So yes, a vehicle can be stopped for a reasonable time, or for a brief stop, right? Brief, reasonable, negligible. These are all words that are kind of thrown out there by various people, but the Supreme Court has said for brief questioning to gain reasonable suspicion, right? So the question really becomes, well, what does brief mean? And what rights am I allowed to maintain? Well, we know from already applicable case law, in order to conduct a traffic stop, you need reasonable articulable suspicion of a crime. So if it's just a stop, right, I'm going to argue and I'm going to state that I'm going to just go with what the state of Oklahoma has said within the Supreme Court. So the Oklahoma Supreme Court has said in Geopart versus Public Safety, as you can see here, a checkpoint involved that was set up on New Year's. The local paper advised its readers of the checkpoint. The department put up signs, blah, 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 blah-de-la-de-la. The stop lasted approximately 10 to 15 seconds. Whereas an approved delay in SITS was, in the SITS case, Michigan versus SITS case, was 25 seconds. So we have this 10 to 25 seconds that courts, to include the state and the Supreme Court, are deeming negligible. So what I'm going to tell you is the Supreme Court case precedence case was 25 seconds. So stop the car. According to the Supreme Court, negligible is 25 seconds. The state of Oklahoma says between 10 to 25. So once you get past 25 seconds, I would say you're in dangerous territory as a law enforcement officer. If you have not been able to get their name, if they're not giving you their name and giving you their documents within 25 seconds, this is the state of Oklahoma already saying, 10 to 25 seconds, that's kind of the sweet spot to gain reasonable articulable suspicion. Now further, we have another state case law here, as you can see, Looking Bill versus State 2007. Here you can clearly see that specific factors to be included to determine if standards are met: the stated purpose of the operation, 2, the approval of superior officers, 3, the degree of compliance with established agency standards, 4, time, location, duration of checkpoint, 5, steps to inform motorists of the reasons for the stop, and 6, the duration of the individual stop. So why this all matters, right? If your stated purpose is alcohol enforcement, right, DUI, and my honest question to law enforcement, what does their name have anything to do with the stated goal of DUI enforcement? How is their telling you their name going to determine their level of intoxication to a reasonable articulable suspicion standard? Honest question. I'd love to hear the answers. If you have answers for me in the comment section below, if you're a big DUI checkpoint guy, really curious. If your stated goal is DUI enforcement, again, what does their name have anything to do with that reasonable articulable suspicion? If anything, getting the reasonable articulable suspicion standard should be where if you're doing a checkpoint, that's where you're at. Now, I already know what the arguments are going to be. You're going to argue, hey, well, if I get them talking, then I can determine if there's odor of an alcoholic beverage, slurred speech, all that. No, that's all great. But once you get past that 25-second mark, what is going to be your reason to compel the identification if you don't have reasonable articulable suspicion? Again, honest question, right? Because some officers seem to think that they are entitled, because it's a DUI checkpoint, to identification. And that's not the case. Now, if you can easily get reasonable articulable suspicion, great. So in Geopart versus State, as you already saw, that one was odor of an alcoholic beverage. You're like, okay, we smell booze, so therefore we have reasonable articulable suspicion, and that was done pretty quickly. In a Looking Bill, you have open container of the vehicle. Yeah, that's pretty quick, right? I can see you have open container. You have an open can of beer, so I have reasonable articulable suspicion of a crime. So that's the purpose of the DUI checkpoints. Be able to ascertain reasonable articulable suspicion real quick. But sitting there fighting over identification for something you have no reasonable articulable suspicion over is just petty, and I don't know why officers still do it, if I'm just being real honest with you. And so that's where you're going to run into problems. If you're just using it because you want them to talk and then you're just going to let them go anyway, cool. I guess that's a tactic to use. I just think it's petty, right? Because if you're just, and again, I was just taught different, right? I am never going to ask a citizen for something that I can't back up. That's just how I was taught, right? So if I'm at a DUI checkpoint and I'm asking for your ID and I know I have no way of compelling it, well, once we get to that 25-second mark, I feel like I would look silly because I could have gotten the same thing with just asking you questions about the weather, right? If the whole purpose is just to get them talking about anything to look for clues of signs, not clues, signs of impairment, well then cool, right? I can do that without asking for something I can't follow through with because it makes me look like I'm incompetent. That's just my opinion. Take that for whatever it is to you. But ultimately, right, when we look at this logically, when we look at this for what it is, negligible is very quick. So again, if you're 30, 40, a minute, 2 minutes in, man, I'd be cutting that person loose very quickly and wishing them a good night. Again, the whole purpose is to gain reasonable articulable suspicion. And that can be anything, right? Because, you go up, hey, can I see your ID? What do I need your ID for? You notice open container. Okay, cool, you can compel ID. You notice their tags are out. Cool, you can compel ID. You notice an infraction that you can take enforcement on. Yeah, that would give you reasonable articulable suspicion. It's petty, but you have it. But if you're just going to fight over identification because it's a roadblock and it's a DUI checkpoint, you're in it for the wrong reasons. So that's just my opinion, but backed by Supreme Court and state court case precedent. So especially for you officers in Oklahoma, I get it. It's a popular thing to do. I would just be very careful because, again, anybody with half a second access to Google can tell very quickly, man, I wonder if I can goat this cop into holding me here for a minute or two. Well, if you were to do that, the case law precedents would not be on your side. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. But tell me what you think in the comment section below. What do you think is a negligible amount of time? Do you think it's 25 seconds? At what point do you think an officer should be getting worried? I'm curious to know what you think in the comment section below. As always, guys, long live the Republic.